The ultimatum. The message from the galactic hegemony appeared simultaneously on every communications device across Earth and its 17 colonies. The alien figure on the screen, tall with iridescent scales and 4 eyes arranged in a diamond pattern, looked upon humanity with unmistakable contempt. People of Earth and its territorial holdings, the being spoke, its translator rendering the words in perfect standard English. I am Supreme War Master Vextor of the Galactic Hegemony. Your expansion ends today. 147 star systems acknowledge our dominance. You will become the 148th, or you will be destroyed. In the United Earth Defense Council chamber in New Geneva, representatives from all human settlements sat in stunned silence. The holographic display at the center of the room showed the alien message on repeat, the War Master's multiple eyes seeming to look directly at each person present. Admiral Hayashi, head of Earth's combined military forces, finally broke the silence. They're offering a choice, she said, pointing to the smaller text at the bottom of the message. Submit unconditionally, or participate in something called the Right of Champions. Director Okafor, the civilian head of the council, adjusted his glasses as he studied the text. According to this, hegemony tradition allows contested worlds to send champions to battle against their warriors. If our champions win, they leave us alone. If theirs win, we become a vassal species. They expect us to send soldiers, General Santos said, her weathered face grim. Our special forces, the Lunar Marines, that's what they're prepared for. And we'd lose, Admiral Hayashi replied. Their warriors are genetically engineered for combat, augmented with technology centuries beyond ours. Our best fighters wouldn't stand a chance. The room fell silent again as the implications sank in. Humanity had only expanded to its nearby star systems over the past century. The hegemony spanned a significant portion of the galaxy. Their military might was overwhelming. Director Okafor's assistant, a young woman with a data tablet clutched to her chest, cleared her throat nervously. Sir, if I may, there might be another approach. All eyes turned to her. The message specifies champions, not necessarily soldiers, she continued, gaining confidence. What if we send someone they're not expecting? Someone who represents humanity's true strengths. Director Okafor leaned forward. What do you have in mind? I've been reviewing reports from our deep space installations. There's a station engineer who's developed quite a reputation for solving impossible problems. A holophile appeared in the center of the room, showing a woman in her mid-30s, dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail, with deep smile lines around her eyes that contrasted with the smudges of grease on her face. The name beneath the image read, Torres Maya J. Chief Engineer, Proxima Centauri Station. 3 years ago, she prevented a catastrophic reactor breach with nothing but a wrench and some duct tape, the assistant explained. Last year, when pirates disabled the life support on the Europa mining facility, she repurposed the water filtration system to produce oxygen until help arrived. She thinks differently. Admiral Hayashi looked skeptical. You want to send an engineer to face hegemony war-bred champions. Director Okafor was studying Maya's file more carefully. It says here she was originally trained as a theoretical physicist before switching to engineering. Her problem-solving approach has been described as unconventionally brilliant. She also has a reputation for being stubborn, difficult to work with, and, quote, aggressively dedicated to fixing things the right way, the assistant added. General Santos laughed for the first time since the message arrived. So they're sending their greatest warriors, and we're considering sending an angry mechanic with a wrench. Director Okafor's lips curved into a slight smile. It's exactly what they won't expect. The hegemony values strict hierarchy, specialized roles, and traditional combat. Someone who views their challenges as engineering problems to be solved rather than battles to be fought. He nodded. Contact Proxima Centauri Station immediately. Across the vastness of space, Maya Torres was hanging upside down in a maintenance shaft of Proxima Centauri Station, muttering a creative string of profanities at a particularly stubborn coolant valve. "Come on, you overpriced piece of garbage," she growled, her voice echoing in the confined space. "I told them to replace you during the last maintenance cycle." With a final twist of her wrench, a custom titanium model with POISA ability etched into the handle, the valve gave way. A momentary spray of coolant hit her face before the flow stabilized. "Maya," her assistant's voice came through her communicator. "Station Director Patel needs to see you immediately. Tell him I'm in the middle of preventing his precious station from overheating," she replied, wiping coolant from her face. "He says it's a priority message from Earth." From Director Okafor himself. Maya paused. The head of the United Earth Defense Council didn't typically contact station engineers. "Tell him I'll be there in 5 minutes, and tell Ravi to finish this coolant line replacement, exactly according to the specifications I wrote, not the manufacturer's garbage instructions." 20 minutes later, having taken a minimal effort to clean the grease from her hands, Maya stood in Director Patel's office, watching the hegemony's message with growing disbelief. "And Earth wants me to be humanity's champion?" she asked when the message ended. Director Patel nodded, looking as confused as she felt. "Director Okafor specifically requested you. They believe your problem-solving skills are what's needed." Maya ran a hand through her hair, dislodging the ponytail holder and causing dark curls to fall around her face. "I fix machines. I don't fight alien warriors." "That's precisely why they want you," came a new voice. The communication screen shifted to show Director Okafor himself. "Miss Torres, the hegemony expects warriors. They've prepared for warriors. Their entire society is structured around combat specialization. You represent something they won't understand." Maya gestured to herself. Work overalls stained with various mechanical fluids, a tool belt hanging loosely around her waist, and the ever-present wrench tucked into a custom holster. "And what's that, exactly?" "Human adaptability. The hegemony believes in specialized roles. Warriors fight. Engineers build. Leaders command. But humans, we adapt. We repurpose. We see problems differently." Okafor leaned closer to the screen. "The fate of our species depends on it." Maya was silent for a long moment. Then she lifted her wrench, examining its worn surface. "Possibility has gotten me out of a lot of tight spots," she said quietly. "But saving humanity from alien conquerors wasn't on today's to-do list." "Will you do it, Miss Torres?" Okafor asked. Maya looked at the frozen image of War Master Vextor, with his 4 dismissive eyes and scaled skin that probably served as natural armor. Then she thought about all the people on Proxima Centauri Station, the scientists, the families, the children in the education pod who sometimes visited her workshop with wide-eyed curiosity. "I have conditions," she finally said. "First, whoever takes over my duties here follows my maintenance schedules to the letter. Second, I want unlimited access to information about the hegemony, especially their technology. And third," she held up her wrench, "possibility comes with me." Director Okafor smiled. "Those terms are acceptable." As Maya left to pack her few belongings, Director Patel called after her. "The transport will arrive in 6 hours." Maya nodded absently, her mind already racing through possibilities. The hegemony had engineered the perfect warriors, but they had never encountered a human engineer with a problem to solve. And Maya Torres had just been handed the biggest problem of her life. First encounters. The United Earth vessel Defiant traveled at speeds that would have amazed humanity's ancestors, but for Maya, the journey to the hegemony's battle station felt interminably slow. She spent most of it in the ship's engineering section, much to the concern of Captain Reyes, who had been assigned to brief her on hegemony battle tactics. "Miss Torres," he said, finding her elbow deep in the ship's auxiliary power system, "we really should review these combat techniques." Maya didn't look up. "Does the Defiant have the technical specifications for the hegemony battle station?" "What? No, that would be classified. even if we had them. Then your combat techniques won't help much, she replied, extracting herself from the panel and wiping her hands on a rag. I don't plan to outfight them, Captain. That's what they're expecting. Captain Rice frowned. Then what exactly do you plan to do? Maya smiled, patting the wrench at her side. I plan to do what I always do, fix things. The hegemony warriors aren't broken engines, Miss Torres. No, but systems are systems, Captain. Whether it's a coolant line or a combat arena, everything has vulnerabilities, redundancies, and failure points. The key is finding them. She tilted her head, studying him. Do you know why I named my wrench Possibility? Ray shook his head. Because in the right hands, a wrench doesn't just tighten bolts. It creates possibilities. It can be a lever, a hammer, a measuring tool, or a counterweight. Its purpose changes depending on what needs fixing. She tucked the tool back into her holster. That adaptability is something the hegemony, with all their specialization, might not understand. As the Defiant approached the massive hegemony battle station, a structure resembling a giant metal starfish with 7-pointed arms extending from a central hub, Maya stood at the viewport, her eyes narrowed in concentration. Each arm is a different arena, Captain Rice explained. According to the briefing, you'll face one champion in each, with the final champion in the central hub. Maya wasn't listening. Instead, she was noting the external power conduits, the positioning of what appeared to be environmental regulation units, and the rhythmic flashing of status lights along the hull. Already, her mind was cataloging potential weaknesses and interconnections. When they docked, a delegation of hegemony officials was waiting. Their leader, a being similar to War Master Vextor, but with ceremonial markings etched into his scales, stepped forward. I am High Arbiter Zexcon, he announced, his translator creating perfectly articulated English. I will oversee the right of champions. His 4 eyes studied Maya with obvious disdain. This is your champion. A maintenance worker. Captain Reyes straightened. This is Maya Torres, chief engineer of Proxima Centauri Station, and humanity's chosen representative. The hegemony officials exchanged glances that clearly communicated their confusion, followed by amusement. Maya ignored them, her attention caught by the visible conduits running along the docking bay walls and the slight fluctuation in the lighting pattern that suggested a power regulation issue. The first contest will begin in 1 standard rotation, Zexcon announced. You may use this time to prepare. As the Earth delegation was escorted to their quarters, Maya slipped away unnoticed. She spent the next hours exploring the publicly accessible areas of the station, noting the locations of maintenance panels, observing the flow of hegemony personnel, and occasionally making small adjustments to her wrench. When she finally returned to her assigned quarters, Captain Rice was frantic. Where have you been? He demanded. The contest starts in 3 hours, and you need to rest. Maya sat cross-legged on the floor, spreading out several small components she had collected during her exploration. I've been getting the lay of the land, she replied calmly. Did you know their environmental control systems are run on a completely different power grid than their weapon systems? Interesting design choice. Rice stared at the components. Did you take parts from the station? Just discarded ones, Maya assured him, though her definition of discarded might have been broader than standard. Don't worry, I'm just studying their engineering approach. 3 hours later, Maya stood at the entrance to the first arena, a vast spherical chamber with no apparent gravity. The inner surface was covered with handholds and fixed points, while the center remained empty space. Floating in that central void was her first opponent. The hegemony champion was imposing, nearly 8 feet tall, with emerald scales and 6 limbs, each ending in clawed hands that gripped various weapons. A ceremonial armor of what appeared to be lightweight metal covered its vital areas. I am Krell, master of the void, the alien announced. In zero gravity, none have ever defeated me. Maya nodded absently, her eyes already scanning the chamber's construction. Near the entrance was a small control panel, likely for emergency restoration of gravity or atmospheric adjustments. The rules are simple. High Arbiter's ex-con's voice boomed through the chamber. Combat continues until one champion yields or can no longer continue. Lethal force is permitted but not required. Before he finished speaking, Krell launched himself from his position, spinning gracefully through the zero-G environment, weapons extended. Maya immediately pushed off toward the control panel, her movements less elegant but precisely calculated. "Face me, human," Krell called, adjusting his trajectory with practiced ease. Maya reached the panel and quickly removed its cover with her wrench. Inside was a complex array of controls that would have baffled most humans, but to Maya, the logic of the system was clear regardless of its alien design. Power flow indicators, atmosphere regulators, and most importantly, the gravity controls. Just as Krell was about to reach her, Maya made 3 quick adjustments with her wrench. Suddenly, gravity returned to the chamber, but not uniformly. It fluctuated in waves, stronger in some areas and weaker in others, creating a disorienting environment that changed every few seconds. Krell, trained for consistent zero-G combat, was completely unprepared. His graceful movements became uncoordinated flailing as he struggled to adjust to the constantly changing gravitational conditions. Maya, on the other hand, had positioned herself near a wall handhold, bracing for the effects of her modifications. "What is happening?" Krell demanded, his weapons now more of a hindrance than an advantage as he tumbled awkwardly. "I'm improvising," Maya called back. She pushed off during a low-gravity moment, timing her movement to reach another control panel on the opposite wall, just as a high-gravity wave hit, using it to secure her position. This panel controlled the atmospheric circulation. With a few quick adjustments, she created localized air currents that further disrupted Krell's attempts to stabilize himself. From the observation deck, High Arbiter's ex-con watched with growing confusion. "This is not combat," he said to Captain Reyes. "What is she doing?" Reyes, who was equally surprised but increasingly impressed, replied, "She's solving a problem." After 10 minutes of struggling against the unpredictable environment, Krell was exhausted and disoriented. His specialized combat techniques were useless in conditions that changed faster than he could adapt. "Do you yield?" Maya called out, comfortably secured to a handhold as another gravity wave passed. This is not how the rite is conducted," Krell protested. "The rules said nothing about not adjusting the environment," Maya pointed out. "Just that one champion must yield or be unable to continue. So which is it?" With a growl of frustration, Krell finally responded, "I yield." As Maya restored the chamber to its original settings, she noticed a small inefficiency in the power distribution to the gravitational system. Almost by habit, she made a quick adjustment with her wrench. "Your gravitational system was drawing 15% more power than necessary," she informed the stunned hegemony officials as she exited the arena. "I fixed it. You're welcome." The second arena was a stark contrast to the first, a chamber filled with constantly shifting platforms over a pool of bubbling liquid that Maya immediately identified as some type of acid. Heat radiated from the surfaces, and the air was thick with caustic vapors. Her opponent this time was a lithe 4-armed being with reflective silver scales. It moved with incredible speed across the platforms, which rose and fell in patterns that seemed random but must have been programmed. "I am Sivrix, master of the shifting path," the champion announced. "My reflexes have been enhanced to perfection. You cannot match my speed or prediction abilities." Maya studied the moving platforms and the mechanism controlling them. Near the acid pool was a maintenance access point, likely for servicing the hydraulics that controlled the platform movements. When the signal to begin came, Sivrix immediately launched into an impressive display of acrobatics, leaping between platforms with perfect timing, clearly demonstrating years of training in the arena's specific patterns. Instead of trying to match this display, Maya carefully timed her movements to reach the maintenance access point. Once there, she quickly opened it with her wrench and examined the hydraulic control system. "Fascinating," she murmured. They're using a sequential pattern generator, but there's a predictable underlying algorithm. As Civrix closed in, moving with blinding speed across the platforms, Maya made a series of quick adjustments to the hydraulic system. Suddenly, the platform pattern changed completely, following a new sequence that only Maya could anticipate. Civrix, whose enhanced reflexes were trained on the original patterns, missed a jump and barely caught the edge of a platform. As the champion struggled to adapt to the new, unpredictable movements, Maya navigated confidently across the chamber, having memorized the pattern she had just programmed. "You cannot change the arena," Civrix protested, clinging to a platform that was slowly tilting toward the acid. "Actually, I can," Maya replied. "And I also noticed your acid neutralization system is operating at only 60% efficiency. That's dangerously negligent." While Civrix continued to struggle with the new platform patterns, Maya reached another control panel and made additional adjustments, this time to the acid neutralization system. The dangerous pool below began to change color as its corrosive properties were reduced. After 15 minutes of watching their champion struggle against both the reprogrammed platform sequence and his own specialized training, the hegemony officials were in an uproar. "This is not combat," one protested. "Actually," Captain Rice pointed out, "it's exactly what the right of champions is designed to test. Which species' approach is superior? You're just seeing the different approach than you expected." Eventually, Civrix, exhausted and humiliated, yielded the contest. As Maya exited the arena, she handed a small diagram to one of the hegemony technicians. "Your platform hydraulic system was showing signs of wear that could lead to catastrophic failure within 50 operational cycles," she explained. "This modification should extend its life by at least 300 cycles and reduce power consumption by 22%. The technician accepted the diagram with stunned silence. The third arena was a maze filled with deadly traps and shifting walls. Maya's opponent was a hulking being with rock-like skin and eyes that could apparently see in multiple spectrums. "I am Grandar, master of the labyrinth," the champion rumbled. "No one has ever found me in my domain before I found them." Maya immediately located the maze control system and, instead of entering the labyrinth, reprogrammed it to create a direct path to Grandar's position. She then disabled most of the traps by rerouting their power supply. When she finally reached the bewildered champion, she offered a simple choice. "We can either spend hours planning hide and seek, or you can yield now, and I can fix the serious power leakage in your trap mechanism that's wasting enough energy to power a small human settlement for a year." Grandar, completely disoriented by this approach to the challenge, reluctantly yielded. As the third day of the rite concluded, the hegemony officials were in disarray. Their carefully designed challenges, meant to showcase their warriors' specialized skills, were being systematically dismantled by a human who refused to play by their unspoken rules. And throughout the battle station, small improvements that Maya had implemented while navigating the challenges were beginning to have noticeable effects. Environmental systems ran more efficiently. Power distribution was more stable. Even some of the lighting issues had been resolved. In her quarters that night, Maya serviced her trusty wrench, making minor adjustments while planning for the next day's challenges. Captain Rice watched her with newfound respect. "You know," he said, "you're not just representing humanity in these contests. You're showing them something about us they never considered." Maya looked up from her work. "What's that?" "That our greatest strength isn't specialization. It's adaptability. The ability to see beyond the intended purpose of things and reimagine what's possible." He nodded toward her wrench. "Just like possibility there." Maya smiled, the first genuine smile since arriving at the station. 3 down, 4 to go. And I'm just getting started. The turning point. Word of the human engineers' unconventional victories spread throughout the hegemony battle station. The remaining champions met in a secure chamber to discuss this unexpected development. "She does not fight," hissed Drexar, master of the blazing current, whose electrically charged arena would be the next challenge. She tampers with our systems instead. The Arbiter says she breaks no rules, replied Kilvex, a champion with translucent skin through which complex biological machinery could be seen pulsing. The right only specifies that champions must face each other, and one must yield or be unable to continue. She is making a mockery of our traditions, growled Mokver, whose massive body was covered in weapons fused directly to his exoskeleton. The final champion, a being so heavily modified for combat that little of its original form remained visible, observed the discussion in silence. This was Tixathor, the hegemony's ultimate warrior, engineered specifically for the final challenge of the right. You are all missing the true danger, Tixathor finally spoke, its voice unnaturally calm. With each arena, the human learns more about our technology. She is not just winning challenges, she is gaining understanding. The other champions fell silent, contemplating this observation. The next 3 challenges must end differently, Tixathor continued. Drexar, disable all maintenance access points in your arena. Kilvex, reconfigure your atmospheric chambers randomly just before the challenge begins. Mokver, set traps specifically targeting her behavior patterns. The champions nodded in agreement, their specialized minds already adapting these suggestions to their specific domains. What none of them realized was that Maya Torres had anticipated this exact response. The 4th arena was a vast chamber crisscrossed with visible energy currents that coursed between conductor poles. The air itself seemed charged with electricity, small arcs occasionally jumping between metal surfaces. Drexar floated at the center, his body naturally generating an electrical field that protected him from the lethal currents. I am Drexar, master of the blazing current, he announced as Maya entered. You will find no control panels or maintenance access points here. I have removed them all. Maya nodded, scanning the chamber. That was short-sighted, she remarked. Safety systems exist for a reason. When the signal to begin came, Drexar immediately charged the nearest conductor pole, causing a massive surge of electricity to arc toward Maya's position. Instead of diving for cover, she held up her wrench, which she had modified during the night with materials borrowed from various parts of the station. The electrical current was drawn to the wrench, which now functioned as a primitive lightning rod. Rather than harming Maya, the energy was channeled through the specially coated tool and into a small device attached to its handle. What is this? Drexar demanded, sending another, more powerful surge. Again, Maya's modified wrench absorbed and redirected the energy. With each attack, the device on her wrench glowed brighter. You've created a beautiful electrical distribution system, Maya called out, slowly advancing through the chamber by following the paths of least resistance that her trained eye could identify. But you're wasting at least 40% of your power through inefficient conduction materials. Drexar, growing frustrated, intensified his attacks, sending cascading waves of electricity through the chamber. Maya continued to absorb and redirect the energy, using it to power her device, which was now emitting a high-pitched whine. The problem with specialized systems, Maya explained, as if giving a lecture, is that they're often designed with only one function in mind. But energy is energy. It can be redirected, repurposed, transformed. With a final twist of her wrench, Maya activated the fully charged device. It emitted a precise electromagnetic pulse that temporarily disrupted the entire arena's electrical grid, including Drexar's natural defenses. In the moment of darkness that followed, Maya reached the central conductor and made a series of quick adjustments. When the power returned, the electrical currents were reconfigured to create a containment field around Drexar himself, using his own electrical signature against him. Do you yield? Maya asked the trapped champion. After several futile attempts to escape, Drexar reluctantly conceded. As Maya exited the arena, she handed her device to one of the hegemony technicians. This is a power efficiency analyzer I built from your own components, she explained. It could improve your station's overall energy consumption by at least 27% if implemented station-wide. The technician accepted the device with a mixture of confusion and curiosity. By now, something unexpected was occurring throughout the hegemony battle station. Technicians were quietly implementing some of Maya's suggested improvements. Power efficiency had increased. Environmental systems were operating more smoothly. Even the artificial gravity, which had always had subtle fluctuations, was now perfectly stable. In the control center, High Arbiter Zexcon was receiving reports of these changes with growing concern. This human is not just surviving our challenges, he observed to his advisors. She is improving our station. Many of the modifications do show significant efficiency increases, admitted one advisor, reviewing the data. Our engineers are studying her methods. Zexcon's 4 eyes narrowed. This was not the purpose of the rite. Contact War Master Vextor immediately. The 5th arena was unlike any of the previous challenges. It appeared to be a series of sealed chambers with different atmospheric conditions, connected by airlocks. Some glowed with extreme heat, others were visibly freezing, and still others contained gaseous compounds that would be toxic to most life forms. Kilvex waited in an adaptable environmental suit that allowed him to survive in any of the chambers. "I am Kilvex, master of hostile environments," he announced. "My biology has been enhanced to survive conditions that would kill most beings instantly. The chamber sequences have been randomized. You cannot plan for what comes next." Maya studied the chamber control systems visible through transparent panels. Although she couldn't access them directly, she could observe how they functioned. "Interesting approach," she acknowledged. "But there's always a pattern if you know what to look for." When the challenge began, Kilvex immediately moved through the first airlock into a chamber filled with superheated gas. He clearly expected Maya to follow, but instead, she began examining the sealed door of the first chamber. "The fundamental flaw in your design," she called out, loud enough for her voice to carry through the communication system, "is that all environmental systems must be connected to a central regulatory network. Otherwise, you risk catastrophic cascade failures." Using her wrench, she carefully removed the cover plate of the door's emergency manual override. Inside was a complex locking mechanism designed to prevent tampering. Maya smiled. "Nice redundancy features," she commented, already identifying the sequence needed to trigger a safety protocol. While Kilvex watched in confusion, Maya manipulated the override in a specific pattern. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the arena. The environmental emergency system had been activated, initiating a safety protocol that began equalizing all chambers to standard life support conditions. "Your safety systems are actually quite good," Maya told the stunned champion. "But they were programmed to prioritize life preservation over challenge parameters, as they should be." After another difficult defeat, the hegemony officials were in an uproar. The Rite of Champions had never proceeded like this in its 1,000-year history. In her quarters that night, Maya was visited by High Arbiter Zexcon himself. "You do not engage in combat," he stated, his tone somewhere between accusation and curiosity. Maya looked up from where she was once again maintaining her wrench. "Combat isn't my specialty." "Then why did your leaders send you?" "The rite is meant to test the warriors of each species." "That's where you misunderstand us," Maya replied, setting down her tool. "Humanity doesn't divide itself into rigid categories like the hegemony does. Our soldiers can be engineers. Our engineers can be problem solvers. Our leaders can be followers when the situation demands it." She picked up her wrench again. "Adaptability is our specialty." Zexcon was silent for a moment, his 4 eyes blinking in an asynchronous pattern that Maya had learned indicated deep thought. "I have received reports," he finally said, "that many of your adjustments to our systems have resulted in significant improvements." Maya shrugged. "I can't help fixing things that aren't working efficiently. It's just what I do." "This is not the purpose of the rite." "Maybe not, but it's revealing something important about both our species, isn't it?" After Zexcon left, Captain Rice entered with news from Earth. "The Defense Council is thrilled with your progress," he reported. "But they're worried the hegemony might change the rules or terminate the rite prematurely." Maya nodded, having already considered this possibility. They won't. Their entire culture is built on adherence to tradition. Breaking their own rules would undermine their authority with the other species they conquered. She held up her wrench, which now had several new modifications. Besides, I'm prepared for the next challenges. The sixth arena was a vast weapons testing chamber. Automated defense systems lined the walls, and the floor was dotted with pressure plates that would trigger various attacks when stepped on. Mokvar, whose body was a walking arsenal of biological and technological weapons, waited at the center. "I am Mokvar, master of armaments," he announced. "Every weapon in this chamber is keyed to my neural signature. They will not harm me, but they will annihilate you." Maya studied the weapon systems and immediately recognized their power source. The same type of energy distribution network she had analyzed in the fourth arena. "You've got an impressive setup here," she acknowledged. "But all weapon systems have the same fundamental vulnerability." "And what is that?" "Human." Maya smiled. "They need power to function." Before Mokvar could respond, Maya had already begun implementing her plan. Using her modified wrench, now equipped with components salvaged from previous arenas, she created a feedback loop in the nearest weapon system. The power surge cascaded through the connected systems, temporarily overloading them. In the moment of darkness that followed, Maya moved quickly, using her wrench to access a maintenance conduit that Mokvar had overlooked. By the time the backup power engaged, she had already rerouted the weapons control system. "Neural signature verification failed," announced the automated system. "All weapon systems temporarily disabled for safety protocols." Mokvar, suddenly finding his greatest advantage neutralized, resorted to physical attacks. But Maya had anticipated this as well. The pressurized hydraulic systems that powered many of his biological weapons required precise calibration. With a targeted strike of her wrench to a specific point on Mokvar's exoskeleton, she disrupted this calibration. The champion's weapon systems began to malfunction, some failing completely while others operated at reduced capacity. "What have you done?" Mokvar demanded, attempting to recalibrate his systems. "I've equalized the pressure distribution in your hydraulic systems," Maya explained. "They were operating at dangerous levels above."